few weeks ago, I made the claim on Threads, follow me on Threads by the way, over at Brittany Verlenich, that social media doesn't really exist anymore, and I stand by that. For most platforms, they really aren't social media platforms anymore, and we've instead gone into the world of interest media. But is this a good thing? What does it mean for you as a TPT seller, as a blogger, as an online business owner? What does it actually mean to show up and build a community, an audience on the internet? We're going to talk about that in today's episode of Social Media Magic. Let's get into it. Hi, by the way, my name is Brittany Verlenich. I'm a content strategist, social media manager, total marketing nerd, and I'm the host of this show. Welcome. I'm so glad you're here. I live on both sides of this whole social media content world because I help people create content and get seen and build their email lists and all of that stuff online. And I'm also on my own journey of being a creator, but I don't just create content on the internet for views or for kicks, although it is really fun. I am always focused on sales, site traffic, and subscribers. And by that, I mean email subscribers, although I do mean YouTube subscribers sometimes too, depending on the context. But I want to stay really focused on this episode and talk about what social media is and is not going into 2026 and beyond. In the old age of the internet, it was all about who you followed. And this still exists to an extent, right? If you're building a personal brand, Brittany Verlenich is very much a personal brand. One of the reasons that I did not go hardcore into calling what I offer Instagram this or Facebook that, one reason is because I don't want to get trademark infringement or legal trouble because I can't claim ownership on any of those brands or companies. They're not mine. So that's one part of it. But two, I had the foresight a few years ago to know that what I offer, what I'm going to want to do is going to shift over time. And because my own personal journey is going to shift, right? What if I have a baby? What if I get sick and I can't work as much as I do now? These things are going to change over time. What I'm interested in, what I can do, my skill level, that's all going to change and adjust over time. So I'm a really big fan of personal brands for that reason, but I'm also a big fan of personal brands and using, I'm going to say social media in this instance, but really interest media to build up that brand so that you can grow an audience, build an email list, create a community. By the way, those are all three separate things. I'll cover more in a separate episode about that. Having a personal brand lets you transfer that to anything else you want to do in life. So maybe you want to get a job at a certain career. It's wild to say that employers do check your LinkedIn profile. They do a little Google search. They are going to go probably search your name on ChatGPT. And if you have two equally qualified candidates, it just makes sense that they're going to go with the person that has the most authority on the specific topic, role, industry, whatever that they're looking to hire for. It makes sense, right? So that's something you have to keep in mind is that are you going to want to do whatever it is that you're working on for the rest of your life? Are you building a legacy brand? I've talked about that before, where you're building up a company that you might want to pass on to future generations. Are you building to sell? Is this a launchpad business that's going to lead to something else down the road? Or is this a lifestyle business that it's going to grow and change with you? I definitely see what I do with Verity Media, which is technically its own entity, and Brittany Verlenich, my personal brand, as being a lifestyle business, at least for now. I'm really thankful for that because in the last year, I have scaled back a lot, really by necessity. And it's weird because it's also been one of my best years ever, my second best year financially. And it's really interesting, isn't it, that when you get really strategic on what actually takes up your time, what is actually profitable, what is actually fun, like what do I want to do? And I know that seems like a really privileged question, and I guess it is. If money wasn't an issue, what would you be doing with your time? That's a question that's come up a lot for me often. And I had this realization of, wow, am I going to want to spend as much time on social media or keep talking about social media or doing social media for other people if I don't have to? It's a really powerful question. And I would encourage you to think about that. If you didn't need the money, would you keep doing whatever it is that you're doing? And there's no wrong answer. And it doesn't have to be black or white either, right? Like maybe you do one thing 80% of the time, something else 20%, maybe you do something part-time. It's weird how easily we can get binary with things like this, that it has to be either or. I know I definitely default to that often. It definitely doesn't have to be. But it has me really reflective, and I'm just really thankful for that. And the reason that this has come up is because I've been thinking more and more, what do I think about social media now? Not just in the practical sense of, is it still worth it for TPT sellers, bloggers, bloggers, the online business owner type to be on it. What actually is it? How do I feel about this? AI and automation has definitely been in the conversation for the last couple of years, but what does it mean now that interest media is taking over? Okay, let's get to the practical part. In the past, in the old days of the internet, it was all about following a person. I mentioned that at the beginning, and it's still like that in a sense. When you go on Facebook, when you go on LinkedIn, Instagram, sometimes you see the person's name and you follow what they do, not just on the internet, but in general. What are they eating for breakfast, right? Depending on what era of the internet we're talking about. We still definitely follow people. We follow celebrities. We follow politicians. We're always interested and eager to hear what certain people have to say. Even if we don't personally like them, we want to know what certain people have to say because of their opinions, because of the brand reputation that they put online, because of what they've done, what experience we have with them in the past. So personal brands are very powerful, and social media has been an amazing way in the past to put yourself out there, to say what you think, to showcase your expertise, education, to show that you know your stuff, to build authority, all that. But with interest-based media, we're now in a different age of the internet. We don't go on Instagram, at least most people don't, I should say. Disclaimer there. Everybody uses the internet differently, but most people don't go on Instagram to go see what X person is doing. They go to their Reels tab as a default and they scroll, or they go to their For You page to discover new ideas, outfits, whatever it is that they're into. It's interest-based. And based on that interest and what they see when they're scrolling, then they might decide they want to follow some people. And when I had this realization first a couple of years ago, I was like, wow, how powerful is this? I was so excited about it because I thought that means anybody. It doesn't matter how many followers you have or how many subscribers you have or how big your quote unquote audience is, even though it is good to build an audience. And like I said, I'll have another episode coming out about the difference between an audience, community, and an email list, but it is helpful to have a bigger audience. And of course it is, I should say, an invested and interested audience, right? Like you don't want to have a whole bunch of people hate following you. But what do you do in the world of interest media when you have content that's getting a lot of reach, a lot of views, a lot of eyeballs? And I know that many people are not even there yet, but what if you had some videos that were doing really well, but they're still not really joining your community? They're not getting onto your email list. They're not going to your website. They're not going to your web shop. They're not booking calls with you. They're not buying your stuff. What do you do? And that is the hard part. That is what we have to figure out now in this new age of the internet, because when someone decides to follow us or subscribe or opt in, they're still in that discovery mode like all the time because it's interest-based media. So if other people are getting in front of them all the time, so just as it's easy now for you to get in front of other people, now it's also just as easy for all of your competitors to do that. When we think about organic versus paid, for example, like in my understanding of what paid ads are, it's interruption-based media, right? So in the past, you would be scrolling and then you would see an ad, and then if someone's interested, they click on the ad or whatever, right? And they go watch it, they buy it, whatever they want to do. But now organic media works the same way. It's not someone going to your Facebook group, your Instagram. Now there are some people who have a strong enough brand where that happens to see what's going on. So you have to think, and this again goes with another question that I will also have an episode coming out about soon. Should you build a personal brand or should you build an interest or niche brand? In the travel world, the question is usually like, should it be Travels by Brittany or should it be Ireland travel tips, right? It's like, am I going to draw people in who are immediately interested in Ireland? There's definitely a strategy there. Or am I going to build a community around my own travels, my perspective, my voice, and then they're going to just follow me and shift over time maybe, or maybe they'll stop following me. So you're going to have to make the same decision if you haven't already, and you might have to remake that decision going into the new year, going into this new phase of whatever this internet is. I've been calling it the TikTokification of the internet, but I've been seeing that, right? The shift. So cute. My cat right now is crawling behind my laptop. She likes how warm it gets there because the fan like comes out behind the screen part. Yep, there she goes. I should definitely take a picture of this because it's very cute. And then she'll stick her little head out the side and I'll just see a little cat paw. Like sometimes she'll get my hand or I'll just see her little head poke out. It's very adorable. So interest-based media. I tell my clients that every time they make a piece of content, if it is an Instagram reel, TikTok video, YouTube short, carousel post, even on Instagram or Facebook, yes, it's possible that their followers or whomever will also see it, but really every single piece of content is for strangers now, which is such a weird thing. One prediction I made a couple of years ago, but I also made it at the beginning of 2025, is I said that in-person events are going to matter more than ever. We are now almost 6 years out as of when I'm recording this from COVID, which is a wild thought, right? And that's from when COVID started. So obviously it phased out different times in different places. People are craving real human connection, personalization, customization more than ever, especially in the rise of AI AI and automation. So if you can be the person to provide that real relationships, that is where I think you're going to shine, because then once you've established that connection offline or off of social media or whatever, then people will come and see what else you've got going on, right? Because then you have that personal connection already. So I know for me in 2026, I have so many conferences on my calendar. I'm definitely thinking, how can I do more grassroots, off the platform, community driving? Again, there's that difference between email list, community, audience. But I am also thinking about, okay, what can I do to also grow my audience? But that is not my primary objective. When it comes to traffic, which we haven't even talked about that yet, I think that one of the biggest misconceptions that people have had when it comes to social media, especially in the TPT seller, teachers pay teachers community, is that social media has been for influencers, and therefore it's a waste of my time. Trying to market on social media is a waste of my time because people are just scrolling for fun, and it'd be better for me to focus on SEO and traffic. I would say technically traffic falls into audience because teachers pay teachers has the built-in audience and traffic, right? Traffic, audience are both just people. But what would happen if the TPT site went down tomorrow? Maybe IXL decided to sell the company. I'm not saying they would do that. If you had all of your traffic and all of your income coming directly from TPT, and I've said this so many times, you would be in a bad position. So I still stand by my idea, the stance that you need to have your own community. You do need to have a personal brand. Whether or not your personal brand is frontward facing in your TPT store and content is a totally different question, but I do think you need to be building one at least alongside of it. Now, I'm not saying you need to be posting on LinkedIn 5 times a day and putting up these cringy, weird posts about how you would outwork anyone. I'm not saying that, but people should have an idea of who you are, what you believe, and what you're capable of before they even buy from you or talk to you. And we want to make sure that we have a very robust multi-channel approach. We haven't even gotten to AI SEO yet and generative search, but that's coming. Social search is coming too. I can't wait to have another episode drop about that. But I want you to be thinking about this. How can you leverage interest media? How can you create every single piece of content online so that if a new person saw this, and I'm thinking about this for the podcast too, even though podcasts have traditionally been a nurturing platform where you're talking to people who already know who you are and who are interested in what you talk about, a stranger could come across this video, right? If they're watching on YouTube or Spotify. Spotify has some discoverability features. I want to be thinking about that. How can I talk to each person in content? And also, I'll add here, this is just a tip for content creation too. Even though I did mention a couple different segments, like I'm saying bloggers, TPT sellers, I'm talking to you directly and I'm thinking about the person who's watching or listening to this. I'm thinking, okay, this person's either a current teacher or former teacher. They likely have a TPT store or they're thinking about it. They might also have a blog linked to their store. So they might not call themselves bloggers, but they might call themselves bloggers. So you're probably at this point where you're trying to decide like what is worth devoting my time and energy to. You have some proven success on TPT. You at least know that this is viable. It's possible. It's not where you want it to be yet, but you know you can get there. But that's also why you need to be so discerning when it comes to deciding how much money, time, energy, and otherwise you're going to devote to these platforms. Like I get it. And so my goal, my hope for you is of course that you would also enjoy social media and that you would use it in a strategic way to get more site traffic, sales, and subscribers, but also that you would see that you can do so much more with it. Because now that we do live in the era of interest media, you can reach anybody in the world. If you have a clear enough message, if you have helpful enough content, and if you are strategic with how you package and present that content so that it gets in front of the right people, we can be doing way more than getting you more sales, okay? We can be making movements. I really do believe that. I've seen that. I am seeing that. I have one client who is talking about how nutrition can help to cure cancer. I have another client who really made her own career in the travel industry, and she's forging her own path, and she's now helped hundreds of others do the same. I've had TPT clients who have helped students jump several grade levels in reading, although I'm more in the phonics category. I don't really believe in levels, but we're saying levels just for sake of assessment, okay? She's helping students learn how to read, and those students statistically are going to have higher outcomes of success and happiness in life because now they can read. They can do all these other things that are so important. Social media is a tool. It's neutral, and whether it really is social media anymore and the social part is gone, which by the way, I didn't even get to that part in the episode yet. I meant to say it earlier, is that people are not engaging and creating content as much as they used to. People are lurking more. I've noticed that even though I'm a creator, I lurk on other people's content more. I don't engage as quickly anymore. I'm not willing to argue on Facebook posts and in Facebook groups. It's just not worth my energy. So with that, we're going to have to be really strategic if we are going to be on social media about how we create that community, or Or maybe social media isn't where you create the community. Maybe social media is where you grow your audience, get them to your email list, and then you have another function for community. That's why I was saying offline events are going to be where it's at. I can't wait to talk more about this. I would also love to hear your thoughts on this. As always, you can send me a DM on Instagram over at Brittany Verlenich. I am Brittany Verlenich everywhere across everything. I also want to say, if you have not come to join my Facebook group, I have a private Facebook group where I share my thoughts on these things in real time as they come up, my observations of this industry and where we're going. And also, that's one of the first places I share my offers, right? Like my email list is first and then Facebook group is second. So that does matter because sometimes I'll offer time sensitive bonuses or the first people get a deal financially, like money off. So keep an eye on that. And thanks for listening. And thanks for being here, watching or listening to this podcast. If you haven't already, could you do me a huge favor? If you are on YouTube, could you go ahead and click subscribe and then tap the little bell so you never miss notifications of when a new video is posted? I definitely want to grow this channel and this podcast in the new year. Similarly, if you are listening on Spotify, whatever podcast or audio platform you're listening on, could you follow me there? It really does help. I'm going to be pitching to sponsors and I just want to be able to say, like, this is how many people regularly listen to the show. So having those numbers really does help the show so much and it helps me. So thank you so much in advance for doing that. If there's something that you would like for me to talk about, if you have any questions, I really want to hear it. You can send me a DM on Instagram again at Brittany Verlenich, where you can follow me if you're not already, and send me a DM. All right, talk soon.